Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of College Hockey Talk. On today's podcast, I'm joined by sophomore from the Notre Dame hockey team, Ryder Rolston. Ryder, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. How's everything going?
It's going great. Thanks for having me.
Now, at the time of this recording, you're coming off a big weekend sweep against Penn State. Just talk about how important that sweep was for your team, especially since it was at Pagula, which is a tough place to play in.
Yeah, absolutely. The Big Ten's such a tight conference this year, and every night it's super competitive. And going into the second half, your points they mean a lot. And being able to go into Pagula, obviously a great atmosphere, good hockey team, and come away with the sweep was huge, and just kind of sets the tone for what we want to accomplish here in the second half.
Obviously there weren't fans at the games last year, so how nice has it been to have fans back in the arena, especially for those road rinks too, like Pagula, where the atmosphere is pretty awesome to be a part of?
Yeah, it's been awesome. It's been so different, honestly. You get the true experience of college hockey this year. And I mean, there's never a dull moment. Every night you go in and you see all these schools' fan bases, the students, the season ticket holders. I think it's super special. And, not only at home, I think, our fans have been unreal this year. The students, the turnout has been awesome. But like you said, you go into arenas like Pagula, Yost, you see, what college hockey is all about. And it's been an awesome experience. I've really enjoyed it.
Now, how would you evaluate your team's performance as of now?
Absolutely. I think, we have a great team this year. I think we've proved in the first half that we can beat the best teams in college hockey. And, I believe we haven't even hit our stride yet. We've got great leadership, great culture. And I think everyone's kind of starting to click here, and we're going to be a dangerous team down the stretch for sure.
Yeah, do you think a lot of people underestimated your team before the season started? Because when you thought about the Big Ten, everyone was talking about Minnesota and Michigan, and no one really talked about Notre Dame. I guess, did your team use that as motivation to kind of prove all those people wrong?
Absolutely. We come in the summer and, we get a chance to meet all the new guys, train together, skate together. And, all of us knew that we had a special group. I think, we were kind of in the shadow of Minnesota, Michigan, but we all believed that we had a special team. And the big thing was sticking to that, coming in ready to play this year, and sticking to what we knew and sticking to the confidence that we could beat anybody on any given night. And I feel like we've showed that so far, and it's up to us to keep that going.
Now, talk about what it's like playing in the Big Ten and just the competition you face every night, because there's no night off, obviously, and you're playing against guys that are going to be studs in the NHL one day too.
Absolutely. In my opinion, I feel like it's the best conference in college hockey competition-wise. Points separate first and last place, but that point gap is very small. Any weekend the standings shift so much, and every given night you're playing against draft picks, against great players that won championships in the USHL, played all over the USHL, and guys that obviously have names for themselves. And that's the beauty of the conference. Like I said, every night you go into a game, and each team has players that are highly touted. And like I said, it's never a dull moment. You're going to get a great game every night, and it's important to show up.
You also play non-conference this year as well. What's that been like for yourself, playing against teams that you normally don't play against in a regular season?
For sure. I think, that's been awesome this year, being able to, not only play against those teams, but experience, going to schools that you don't usually go to. I think for us, when I look back at the games that we've played this year, a trip that really stands out is when we went up to Michigan Tech in Northern Michigan, two great hockey teams and obviously awesome hockey schools. Being able to go up there and just experience the atmosphere of both places and play in those buildings was awesome. And it's definitely new to me this year. This is the first time I've, ever played teams like that out of the conference, but definitely super enjoyable. I love it.
Is there any difference in playing style you've noticed between the Big Ten and those other conferences you've played against?
For sure. I think the CCHAs seemed like a little bit more heavy game, a little bit more structured. I think the buildings play into it too. I think the fan bases up there are awesome, and their fans know how to get their team going, and it's awesome to see. And you definitely can feel it on the ice. It's a little bit different of a game, but I think that's just the beauty of college hockey. Every night, every team, they play their own game, and you got to be able to combat that and play your game as well. So.
Now, when you look at your team this year compared to last year, your team has improved significantly record-wise. So my question is, I guess, what improvements has your team made since last year? And I guess, when did you start to realize those improvements were happening in the off season?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I think a lot of the credit has to do with all the older guys that we brought in the transfer portal. Chase Blackman, Jack Adams, Adam Karashik, Matthew Galida are all guys that made a significant impact on and off the ice. I think, those guys are a big reason why our culture is so good. And I think they really did a good job of getting our group to buy in at a really early time this season. And I think from that point on, we all knew as a group that we were more special and had a chance to make waves just because of that. And I think once we got on the ice, we were able to show that. And, for me being a player on the team, I was able to see that and kind of use that as confidence, which I think another thing too is our whole team has more confidence. We know we can beat the best teams in college hockey, and it's important that we do understand that, because as we move on here, we're going to have to do that.
Now, as for yourself, what improvements have you made to your game individually this year compared to last season?
Yeah. I came in this year with the mindset. Obviously, I came in a lot more strong. I had a big summer in the weight room. A lot of that has to go to a lot of the credit has to go to Tony Rolinski, our strength trainer. I think really, really helped me this summer. And, I was able to put on some weight, some bulk, and come in this year and make an impact. And I think I've been given opportunity as a player this year to be, a guy that's relied upon every night. And I've taken that opportunity, and I feel like I've run with it. I've been able to produce at every level, and, coming in here this year and being given the opportunity to continue that and, be a guy every night that goes out there, works the hardest, and helps the team win. So I've definitely been happy to receive that, and it's definitely helped my game out this year for sure.
Now, one highlight for your team so far this season is your team obviously went up to Michigan and swept them. Talk about what it was like sweeping that team, especially scoring the overtime winner as well, like you did.
Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest thing for our team going into that weekend was not getting too high, not getting too low. I think, we knew how good of a team we were going into that weekend, and we knew that we could beat them. There was no doubt in our locker room. And we went out, played our game, kept it simple, minute by minute, just chipped away at them. And we know what makes our team successful, and we were able to do that back-to-back nights. I mean, it wasn't only the first night, but the second night too went into overtime. So there's a lot of hockey played that weekend, and we were able to grind through it. And it was an awesome weekend for our team. I think it even built our confidence a lot more.
Now, for yourself, was that the best sell you've ever pulled off, scoring that overtime winner? Because I thought that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean, in college hockey probably, but there was a few that I want to take back in juniors. But no, it was awesome. I mean, the cards kind of played to our advantage there. There was a penalty in overtime, and obviously, I'm out there just to rip the puck. So
Mm-hmm.
try to stick to it, and luckily I was able to squeak one by Portillo there. So it was awesome.
Yeah, no, and those are moments like you dream about growing up, is scoring the game-winning goals. So that's pretty cool that you got to experience that in college hockey.
Absolutely.
Now you get to be coached by Jeff Jackson, who's one of the best coaches in college hockey. Talk about being coached by such a legend in the game.
Yeah, it's been a privilege. He's been awesome to me. I've come in and I've wanted to improve my game all the way around, become a 200-foot player, be trusted defensively and offensively. And I feel like so far he's given me the tools, and has really helped me understand what I need to do as a player to be the best that I can be in all situations. And I've definitely seen that progress in my game, and I feel like I'm a completely different player than I was when I first got to campus here. And it's all because of him. He's helped me so much, and I'm excited to continue working with him and continue, developing into what I can be as a player.
Yeah, and one thing I noticed just talking to some of your teammates was how Coach Jackson, he always like tells it as it is. He doesn't like one thing Alex Steves told me, which I thought was interesting, was how he says Coach Jackson always told them like things that he didn't want to hear, but he knew he had to hear. Is that some things that you've noticed as well being coached by him? Is he's just telling you like what you need to know in order to be better?
Absolutely. I think, for not only myself, but our whole team is making sure that, everybody's truthful to each other, everyone's being honest and making sure that everyone can be the best they possibly can. And I think that, other teams, not only in college hockey, but in the hockey world in general, some coaches don't tell you what you need to hear because it might hurt your feelings a little bit. But the fact that you're able to take in those moments of constructive criticism, apply them to your game, and understand what's being told is what definitely makes you a better hockey player. And I think that's what makes our program so special. Is Coach Jackson gets what he needs out of all the players because of that, and that's why you see so many players get developed out of Notre Dame and play at the NHL levels, because they're taught the right way here and they're able to play in situations that make them a better pro, and that's why they ultimately stick at the NHL level.
Now, I want to transition and talk about the beginning of your hockey career and kind of work all the way up to where you are now. So you're from Michigan. Talk about growing up and how'd you start playing hockey?
Yeah. My dad played in the NHL for 17 seasons. So growing up, I mean, I never really stayed in one place for more than 4 years. I was born in Boston and, first started skating there when my dad was playing for the Bruins, and ended up moving to Stillwater, Minnesota after that. And that's where I really started, playing hockey, competitively, um, and learning, kind of what the game was all about. And I think, that was an awesome experience, being able to live in Minnesota and experience, the hockey system that they have there. Um, but then after Minnesota, I moved to New Jersey. I played in the New Jersey Devils Youth Association for 5 years growing up, and that's kind of where everything took off. I think that was kind of the most memorable time in my early childhood of playing hockey, because I made some great friends there that I was able to reconnect with in the future. But after New Jersey, my dad was actually playing for the Islanders and the Bruins at the end of his career, but my family still stayed in New Jersey because of school and hockey for me and my brothers and whatnot. But when my dad retired, we moved to Detroit, where my dad was born and grew up. And the biggest thing for us as a family was finding the best place for me and my brothers to develop, as hockey players growing up. So we made the decision that the Detroit AAA hockey system was the best in the country, and that's ultimately why we moved there. And I played for Little Caesars for 4 years. I was lucky enough to get coached by my dad as well when I was there, and I made my bestest of friends playing in Detroit. And obviously the reputation Detroit hockey has, and being able to experience that was something special, and ultimately led me to playing for the national development program. So obviously, as a child, I was bounced around quite a bit, but made some friends, was lucky enough to grow around the NHL, see players, learn from them, create relationships with them. Some guys that I still have relationships to this day from, which is super, super special. And then, obviously now calling Michigan home, and, the Detroit Little Caesars organization as well as a big meaning to me, and being able to play there was a privilege for sure.
Yeah, no, and also growing up with the father that played 17 years in the NHL, like what have you learned from him, I guess, growing up? And did you ever talk to him about just certain like systems, I guess, in the NHL, or just some stories about his playing experience?
Yeah. It was a privilege. I mean, obviously, you hear kids say who are NHL kids, that they got to be around the locker room, 24/7, got to go to practice with their dad, got to be in the locker room, talk to the guys and everything. And, I was lucky enough. My dad didn't retire till I was 12, 13 years old. So, I was able to really just take a back seat and, soak it all in, and understand, how he was around other players, just the relationships he had, and how he conducted himself as a pro. And I think, that in itself developed me as a hockey player so much, was because I had exposure to those details that not every kid has. And it was awesome to experience. And, you know, having him by my side and being able to learn from him, lean on him, even to this day, it's helped me so much and has got me through. And I definitely wouldn't be the player I am today if it wasn't for him and the experiences I got to see and have as a kid, for sure.
Yeah, so you must have liked moving around a lot because I know for some kids it's kind of hard to move around a lot, but it seems like for you, you kind of liked it and took advantage of it as much as you could.
For sure, and growing up around the NHL, it's you're submerged in it, right? Like it's your life, it's your livelihood, and for me as a kid and now, like, just I think my best attribute is just how much I love hockey. Like I'm submerged in it. I love it, and every day, whether I'm playing or not, I'm watching it. Like everything revolves around hockey, and as a kid, just being able to experience different dressing rooms, different organizations, being there as a kid, going to different rinks. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, it's truly a kid's dream, and being able to experience that, move around different states, meet new friends, it was awesome. I loved it.
Now, was your dad your favorite player growing up, or was it another guy that you looked up to growing up as well?
It was definitely my dad. I mean, being a kid and watching your dad play in the NHL is definitely something special. And I mean, I think about it to this day. There's definitely a lot of players that I loved watching just because I loved hockey so much. I think, besides my dad, being able to watch guys like Ilya Kovalchuk, Patrick Elias, Patrice Bergeron, Brad Marchand, guys he played with, I was able to, watch him, learn from them. And obviously playing against guys like Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin, watching Ovechkin is one of the coolest things ever. And I think, besides my dad, he's probably my favorite player, but just being able to see guys like that in person, I mean, you can't necessarily choose one guy just because, you see all these different players and how good each and every single one of them are.
Now, before college hockey, you played in the USHL. I guess what's the process like for playing in the USHL, especially for yourself playing with Little Caesars? Like, do they contact you? Is it like a draft? Like, how does that whole thing work out?
Yeah, for me, it was a little bit more of a unique experience. I mean, I played for Little Caesars, and when I was playing for Little Caesars U16, I was, obviously being scouted by different USHL clubs and the National Development Program, and I had the opportunity to, attend the evaluation camp, the top 40 evaluation camp that the development program holds to pick their team, and I obviously went to that and had the privilege of making that team and playing there for 2 years. And when I graduated the NTDP, actually, I was still a senior in high school, so I couldn't go to college just yet. And when I think back to it, I think it was a blessing in disguise because I got the opportunity to play in Waterloo. And the year that I had in Waterloo might have been the best year of hockey, off the ice and on the ice. But just being able to play in that organization, prestigious organization, being able to play for PK O'Hanley, Shane Fukushima was awesome. And just how that came about was, they reached out to me after because I was looking at teams and weighing my options to see what I wanted to do. And it was a draft, but they had a high pick, and we talked to them, and I wanted to play there. I wanted to play for them. I wanted to represent them in the city. And luckily, everything kind of went to plan, and I was able to play there for a year, and it was a great experience for sure.
And also playing with the NTDB, like you get to play against college teams as well. So that must be really beneficial for your development, especially heading into college hockey.
Absolutely, that was one of the great things that we did there, and especially from a developmental standpoint, being able to play against men when you're only sophomore, junior in high school is something that prepares you for the next level, and kind of lets you know what you need to expect, what you need to get better at, but also, what you're getting yourself into in terms of, how you need to prepare for it and, look into the future of what's going to happen. But, being able to go to rinks like, obviously we played Notre Dame, played Michigan, Minnesota. You're going into college venues, like things that I'm doing now as such a young kid, it's almost a little bit intimidating, but at the same time, it's awesome because nobody else at that age in the country has the opportunity to do that. And I think that's what, makes the development program so special and why they're so good at developing hockey players.
Now, when you were with Waterloo, who are some of the players you got to play with that are currently in college hockey right now or going to play in college hockey?
Yeah, I mean, basically our whole team is playing college hockey now. So I got to play with guys like Griffin Ness, who plays for North Dakota, Connor Capone, who plays for Denver, Kyle Haskins, Xander Lampa, Michigan State, Penn State, guys like that, and they're making an impact in our conference too. So it's pretty cool to see those guys and be able to play against them and reunite with them, because I think our group in Waterloo was an unbelievable group. And if COVID didn't cut our season short, we were going to make some waves and do something special, because, I talked about culture with our team. I think our team in Waterloo had an unbelievable culture. And, a lot of that has to do with the guys and the personnel in that dressing room as well. And I'm obviously so excited and privileged to have met those guys and have relationships with them.
And obviously, with playing in with Waterloo, what's like the best memory you have with that team since you got to have so many great memories? And was it a memory on the ice, or was it like an off the ice memory that you just got to have?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of memories from Waterloo. I think, the biggest one was playing in our Thanksgiving game versus the Cedar Rapids Rough Riders. That's kind of like the big rivalry game of the year, and the atmosphere of the building in Waterloo. It's sold out every night. And I mean, just to see how passionate the fans were and how loud that building got was definitely probably the coolest moment I had in Waterloo for sure.
Now, we obviously talked about how the NTDP helped prepare you for college hockey, but how did Waterloo specifically get you ready to play with Notre Dame the following season?
Well, I definitely needed more time to develop. I needed to get stronger, and I needed another year to continue learning the game before I was able to come in college hockey and make an impact. So I think, obviously we had a great strength trainer in Waterloo, Spencer Papinga, who really, really helped me and, kind of took me in under his wing and did the things that he needed to do to make me a better player. And I think, on the ice was learning details, becoming good defensively, being trusted defensively, offensive tendencies, learning and understanding what plays need to be made that I didn't understand yet. And I think a lot of that credit has to go to PK O'Hanley and of course, Shane Fukushima there as well, because, they taught me things that I never learned at the program, playing within a structure, being trusted defensively and learning little details that I never got. And I think going into college, that helped me so much and is why I'm so thankful to have played in Waterloo.
Now, talk about your recruitment process with Notre Dame. What was that like? And what made you want to go to Notre Dame versus other schools you've looked at?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely, an interesting process. Being a kid and having schools on you from a young age is pretty crazy, because I mean, obviously now you see these kids commit so young. But the biggest draw for me to go to Notre Dame was my dad actually played for Jeff Jackson at Lake Superior State, and won a national championship up there with him. So right then and there, I kind of had a soft spot for Notre Dame. But besides that, I came down and visited and got to see the campus and, of course, the state-of-the-art facility that we have here. And, for me, it was a no-brainer. Being able to play for the college coach that my dad played for and, have these resources here was kind of the best of both worlds. And I made the decision, and I'm happy I did.
Yeah, does Jeff Coach Jackson ever talk to you about stories with your dad? And does he think you're like similar players or people at all? Or are you guys kind of different players?
Yeah, he definitely tells me stories. I mean, me and him, or our family has a history. He not only coached my dad, but coached my uncle as well, coach with my uncle. So it's pretty funny. I definitely get some good stories from time to time. But no, me and my dad definitely have similarities, because sometimes Coach Jackson will call me aside and say, "I can't believe I'm telling you this because I told your dad the same thing." But it's kind of funny just to hear, because I mean, it comes full circle.
Yeah, no, and obviously winning that national championship with Lake Superior State, like you like have an idea of what it takes to make it to that level. Is that important as well? Like growing a culture like at Notre Dame is having that understanding of what it takes to win a national championship.
No question. Being able to play for a coach that has been there before, has won championships, makes your group buy in that much more, and be able to get the stories from, not only my coach, but my dad as well, who played under him and understood what had to happen in order to achieve a championship. So obviously, for our group, the personnel of guys that we have in the dressing room is with the combination of, Coach Jackson and everything that he's accomplished up to this day just makes it that much more understandable and that much more of a reality, because he's been there and he understands our group and understands that we have something special here. And all it is up to now is buying in and following in the footsteps of those teams that won with him.
Now, something that was introduced to college hockey last year was 3-on-3 overtime. I just want to ask you, as like an offensive player, what's your thoughts on the whole 3-on-3 overtime, and do you like it? Do you not like it? Personally, I like it just because I'm not a big fan of ties, and I feel like 3-on-3 overtime makes ties less common than it was before.
Yeah, I love it personally because I mean it follows, in the NHL's footsteps of 3-on-3 overtime. And I mean, you really get to see, the skill of college players, especially in the Big Ten. You get into a 3-on-3 overtime where there's a lot of ice and a lot of room to make plays and use your skill. So for me as a offensive player, and not only me but my teammates and other teams too, it's awesome because you're able to play in a situation that one didn't happen in college hockey in the past, but in a situation where you can use your skill and things that you might not be able to 5-on-5, which makes the game that much more fun to watch and play.
Now, obviously, playing last year in a pandemic, how'd you handle the challenges of that? Just with the schedule kind of being uncertain, but also not playing in front of any fans, and just all the challenges that were brought from the pandemic this past year, but also this year as well. It seems like it's somewhat coming back as well.
It was definitely different, and I think the uncertainty of everything kind of played into it to an extent because, like you said, we didn't get to play in front of fans, in front of students last year, and coming in as a freshman, you're kind of a deer in headlights as it is, and for something to be that unfortunate of a situation, you have to find a way to make the best of it, and coming into not only on the ice but off the ice in school, and into a situation you've never been in before, and adapting to all the terms and conditions and protocol and whatnot was definitely crazy. And wearing masks all the time, you had to fight through it. And even for us, it was a shortened season. We got to play, but it was a shortened season. So um, it was definitely, something that I had to kind of get used to. And it was kind of, a few birds with one stone because, you're getting used to college hockey, but you're also in an atmosphere that, is a once in a lifetime thing from the pandemic. So it was definitely pretty crazy, but ultimately now it's gotten so much better, and I've been able to experience just what a true college life is like on and off the ice. And I'm obviously, happy about that. So.
Yeah, and for academic purposes, was an adjustment getting back to going to classes in person?
I mean, yeah, it was just because, we were used to going on Zoom for everything, all your classmates, your teachers, you don't have a relationship with them. They're just on your computer screen, and, class starts, class stops, you open and close your computer, now you actually get to go explore the campus, meet your professors, meet the students, develop relationships. And I mean, I couldn't even tell you like the amount of people that I've met this year and have developed relationships with, I wouldn't have even imagined last year. Some of my closest friends are on campus, I met this year and have developed relationships with. And I think that's just the beauty of not only Notre Dame, but being able to get back to something semi-normal.
Yeah. Now, last question before we get to the non-hockey segment is just what goals do you have for the rest of the season? Is it national championship or bust, or are there other goals that your team might have?
Yeah, I mean it's important that we don't look too far ahead in the future. Obviously, for me, I want to be a part of a championship team, and I think we have that here. Whether that's moving on to and winning the Big Ten and moving on to the national championship, or one of those things, or both of those things, or I don't really have something concrete in terms of a championship of what I want to accomplish, and something that's like a national championship or bust. I don't know if that's necessarily the right mindset to have right now. It's definitely something I want to do, but for our group and in this stage of the season, I want to continue to see our team excel and reach our stride because as we go down the stretch here, hockey's getting harder, teams are getting harder to play against, and it's almost a glimpse of what you're going to see in the postseason. So for us, I think it's just continue developing, seeing our team develop, and continue to prove that we can beat any team in the country.
So we're now in a segment I like to call the non-hockey segment, where I just ask you some non-hockey questions just to get to know you a little bit more off the ice. So my first question to you is, if you could have lunch with anyone in the world, who would it be and why?
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, for me, I'm definitely a hockey guy, and I think for me it would be awesome to have lunch with probably some of the ex teammates my dad has, and and kind of his ex-coaches. I think, one person in particular I was kind of talking to him about being able to talk to and have lunch with Jacques Lemaire, my dad's favorite coach that he's ever had. Being able to kind of talk to him about the teams that, he's coached and, one with obviously himself winning Stanley Cups with Montreal, but also, winning Stanley Cups as a coach in New Jersey. So that would be somebody that would be awesome to have lunch with for sure.
Yeah, I think for me, like if I had to pick any hockey guy, it would be Brad Marchand just because he's won a Stanley Cup, but I like his personality as well. And I think that'll be kind of interesting to hear his personality, but also see and talk to him about his accomplishments in hockey just because he's accomplished so much in his career.
No question. I agree with that for sure.
And then I'm trying to think, non-hockey would probably be Tom Brady. I think he'll be cool to talk to too if I had to pick like one non-hockey athlete.
Yeah, non-hockey for me. I mean, I enjoy watching golfers being able to, sit and talk with a guy like Tiger Woods or
Yeah.
Brooks Koepka, something like that. I think would be pretty cool as well, just to kind of see, how they approach their sport and the similarities and differences would be cool too.
Do you play golf at all?
Yeah, I try to play a little bit. I mean, this past year I couldn't play as much because of COVID, but I mean, in the summer, you obviously hear about hockey players, what distracts them, and
Mm-hmm.
what do they do to get away from the game. So for me, I try to golf as much as possible. I summer up in northern Michigan, and there's some unreal courses up there, and the course that I'm members at is awesome. So I try to get out there as much as possible. But
Yeah. What's your handicap looking like right now since you haven't played in a bit? Is it not looking too good?
that's a good question. Right now, I'd probably give myself maybe like a 12,
Mm-hmm.
something along those lines. Probably somewhere in there.
Yeah, no, I haven't golfed in a bit too. It's just my short game is brutal, but I can drive the ball pretty well. It's just once I get to the green, it just takes like 5 shots for it to get in the hole. So that's something I need to work on.
Drive for show, putt for dough.
Yeah, no, that saying is so true though, because I can't putt for anything. It makes my stat line look so bad at the end of the round.
Oh yeah, me too. Me too. I agree with that for sure.
Now, if there was a movie made about your life, who would you want to play yourself?
Man, that's a good one. If it wasn't me, I mean, to play me, I mean, my life has been pretty crazy, but I mean, I've played with some funny teammates that would be cool to see in my movies. But to be honest with you, I'd like to see my brother play myself or something like that. Someone I'm close to would be cool. Obviously, you hear these people say several like celebrities, but it would be cool to see someone that you're close to kind of play you. I think would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think like Ice Cube's son played Ice Cube in the Straight Outta Compton movie, so that's definitely possible.
Yeah, like that. That's hilarious. That's awesome.
So yeah, no, that definitely be cool to see. Now, speaking of your teammates, I guess who's the funniest teammate you have at Notre Dame?
Oh, we got some characters. Jake Boltman he's funny. But I would have to say Michael Graham. He's somebody that just everything he says, whether he's trying to be funny or not, I find myself laughing. So I'm gonna go with him for sure.
Now, you obviously have the best style on the team, but besides yourself, who has the best style at Notre Dame?
I mean, this one for me is kind of a no-brainer because I kind of try to emulate his style a little bit, but hands down, the best style on our team is Brady Bjork. I think that his closet is something that you don't really see too often, and he pulls it off. So I like to try to be like him a little bit when it comes to fashion and style. So I would definitely have to say him.
Now, last teammate question, but if you had to choose one teammate to cook a meal for you, who would you pick?
Oh, I would say Michael Graham. Michael Graham for sure. He's a good chef. He's actually cooked me a few meals before, so I'm gonna definitely go with him.
Nice. What does he cook?
He's got like a sausage and rice and peppers thing that he's done a few times. That's been spot on every single time. He's a consistent cook, so that's definitely something that uh, I like to have, and it is nice when he kind of cooks that up for me. So
Yeah, consistency is key because you don't want someone that cooks something good and then bad. Like you need it to be constantly good. So I agree with that.
yeah, I can't put my trust into somebody too early, right? I gotta make
Yeah,
sure that they're good across the board.
that's awesome. No, I totally agree with you on that. Now, what music do you like to listen to?
Um, I'm my dad actually played the guitar or plays the guitar, and during his career he would play it to kind of take his mind off the game. And I got into the drums a little bit. So I'm definitely a rock guy. I like to listen to rock. But I'm also an EDM guy. I definitely like the EDM. Like the Tiesto, Martin Garrix stuff. I won't lie. So I'm an EDM and rock guy. A little different genres, but I'm a music guy for sure. So I pretty much enjoy anything, but those two for sure is what you would find in my phone for sure.
Yeah, I think it's important to like different genres just because like I don't understand how someone can like just one particular genre of music. I think it's important to branch out a little bit.
Yeah, you got to have a little variety, something to switch back and forth from for sure.
Now, speaking of music, what's your guilty pleasure song?
Oof. Guilty pleasure song. Um, Guilty pleasure song, Danny California by the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
That's a good song. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's definitely it.
Now, back to some hockey questions. Now, my first question is, should fighting be allowed in college hockey?
I would say yes, because in juniors it's allowed and you have the half shield. And something that I think of, and we talked as a team about this just kind of jokingly, but being able to wear visors in college would change it up a little bit. Yeah, I think you'd be able to fight in college with visors. So I personally think it should be allowed. I think, not only us as players, but students and fans would love it that much more too.
Oh yeah, and also players can police themselves. I think that's makes the game safer if you think about it that way. Like I feel like in college, some guys can kind of run around and do whatever they want without like kind of paying the price for it. And I think it's important. Like in the NHL, if you have a dirty check, you have to fight for it, and then it's all settled, and you don't have to worry about it for the rest of the game. I feel like in college, it causes more commotion when there isn't fighting allowed.
For sure. And you got to be cognizant too, right? Like a guy's face is exposed. So when you're going for a puck, you got to keep your shoulder or stick down and know that, there's going to be consequences if you hit a guy in the face. So I think it not only makes the game safer, but it also keeps guys in check a little bit more too.
Now, what advice, I guess, would you give a younger player who's trying to pursue a D1 college hockey scholarship?
Um, in terms of advice, I think the biggest thing is just enjoying, where you're at now and working as hard as you can. I think being the hardest working player speaks volumes, not only to, your teammates, your coaches, but the people watching. And if you compete and you noticeably compete, you're going to get that one more look, you're going to get your name circled somewhere. So just being hardworking, being a good teammate and making sure you control everything that you can control and not really worrying about, the future too much, the past too much, living in the present and, just enjoying the situation you're in at the time would be my advice for sure.
Now, I know we mentioned a few people throughout the interview, but do you have any shout outs you want to give to any family members, teammates, former teammates, friends, or anyone in particular?
No one in particular. I mean, I don't really have any shout outs. I mean, none that I can think of that I haven't mentioned. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Ryder. I really appreciate it. And I wish you all the best for the rest of the season. I know you're going to do great things, but thank you so much for coming on today.
absolutely. I appreciate you having me.
Now, one thing